There's an old story of two young friends. On a beautiful late spring day 25 years ago, they graduated from the same college. They were very much alike. Both were better than average students. Both were likable, and both, as young college grads do, well, they had very ambitious dreams for the future. And as the story goes, recently both of them returned to their college for their 25th year reunion. They were still very much alike. Both were happily married, both had 2 children, and as it turns out, both had gone to work for the same company after they graduated. And they were both still at the same company. But there was a difference. One of them was the manager of a small department of that company. The other was the president of the company. Now, have you ever wondered, as I have, what makes this kind of difference in people's lives? What are the turning points, the decision points that lead down those very different paths? What if there's a formula that once learned could alter the future path of your life, that could radically transform your business success and your financial success? Would you want to know that formula? Well, I've got it. I'm Jeff Walker, and since 2005, I've been teaching that formula. It's called the Product Launch Formula. I've trained over 10,000 entrepreneurs how to launch their businesses, products, services, and their brands. From that time, my students and clients have done hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. In fact, that's why Forbes.com called me the $400 million man. Now, 2 important things to remember. First, I didn't make all that money. It's my students and clients that made all those sales. And second, that article's a few years old, and that 400 million number, well, that's way bigger now. The story of the 2 young men that I just told you, that was from a famous ad for the Wall Street Journal. It was written by Martin Conroy, and it ran for decades. The difference between those 2 men came down to education and training. Of course, times change, and success is no longer about working for a company for 25 years and working your way up the ladder. For so many of us, success looks more like starting your own business and creating freedom in your life. Financial freedom, the freedom to work when and where you want, the freedom to work with the people you enjoy working with, and eventually the ultimate freedom, the freedom of purpose. Now, when I hear that story, I'm often reminded of my Product Launch Formula students. So many of them have had life-altering launches that completely changed the path of their lives. I can't help but think of John Gallagher. He had an educational board game about medicinal plants. He tried to launch his board game, and he only sold 12 games. That was especially painful since his family was on food stamps at the time, and he was raising 2 small kids. But John didn't give up. He took my Product Launch Formula training, and he launched his game for a second time. Now, he had no additional resources for a second launch other than the Product Launch Formula, and he sold 670 games. From 12 sales to 670 sales. In other words, he did 55 times better. Now, I certainly can't claim you're going to get a 50 times result or that that's a typical result, but that launch completely changed the trajectory of John's life. And the thing is, when you get that kind of result, it's not going to be your last launch. Since then, John's now done dozens of launches for lots of different products, and his launches keep on getting better and better. And he's got a super successful business with 5 employees. And his business has grown every year since that first launch. It's a remarkable story, and it's not average or typical, but I have literally dozens of other stories I can tell you of Product Launch Formula students who made crazy, amazing transformations in their lives. And I often think about where they would be if they hadn't made that fateful decision to step into a bigger vision for themselves. A vision of a bigger income, a bigger, better lifestyle, a bigger impact, if they hadn't stepped up into my Product Launch Formula coaching program. So that's the big question that this video is about. Are you ready to step up into a bigger vision for yourself? Are you ready to start your business or dramatically grow your current business? Are you ready to step into everything that would mean for you? A bigger income, a bigger, more fulfilled lifestyle, and a bigger positive impact in the world? Okay, we've got a lot of ground to cover in this video, so let's get rolling. Now, I've already thrown some crazy numbers at you, but I certainly didn't start that way. I was actually a stay-at-home dad taking care of 2 little babies, and I hadn't made any money in years. I had nothing going for me other than a desperate desire to change my circumstances and to support my family. Well, back then I had one of those key turning points in my life. I started my first online business in 1996, and since I had no sales or marketing experience, I gradually invented a new way to sell stuff. A way that didn't feel slimy, a way that felt authentic, honest, and congruent. At the time, I didn't know I was inventing something that would completely change online marketing and sales. I was just really hungry to change my family's fortunes. But that was the start of the product launch formula. The thing is, every successful business, every successful product, every successful brand starts with a successful launch. You can't start slowly. That's the recipe for a slow and painful death. And there's nothing that can give you the almost instant momentum, leverage, positioning, and cash flow that product launch formula does. The first time you hit that launch button, your life will be changed forever. The first time I did it, I realized I now had control over my life. I had control over my destiny. That first sale I made, I jumped so high, I almost hit the ceiling. My life changed in that instant because I knew that if I did it once, I could do it over and over. Now, since you're watching this video, I know that you have a dream, a vision of building your business, taking control of your life, making an impact, for getting the income and lifestyle that you deserve. Or maybe you already have a business and you know it could be so much better or so much more leveraged. Or maybe you're an artist or an author or soon to be author and you just want to get your work out there in a big way. The thing is, I believe entrepreneurs and creators, well, they're the future of humanity. They're the ones who are driving human progress. They're the ones that are creating an enormous positive impact in the world. And that's why I built Product Launch Formula. That's why I'm so invested in my PLF students. Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to change your life because there really are 5 big game changers. First, I want to talk about the 2 big elephants in the room, the 2 biggies. And I'm talking about your list and your product. When it comes to your list, there are only 2 categories of people. There are those who have not started building their list yet. They just haven't started yet. And then there are those who want a bigger list. No matter what business you're in, you always need to focus on building your list. If you haven't started yet, you know that you need to get started. And your launch is how you get that start. Now, if you've got a list, no matter what size, then you know you need to grow it. And after being in this business since 1996, I can tell you that the absolute best way to build your list is with a product launch. If you're just starting from scratch, then the seed launch is your ticket. You can start with nothing, no list and no product, and quickly build from there. If you've already got a list, then the internal launch is the way to go because it's going to give you the best kind of list, a list that's built through viral word of mouth. And then when you're ready to step up to the joint venture launch, well, that's where you can add thousands of people to your list in a matter of days. Of course, if you don't have a great relationship with that list, it really doesn't matter how big your list is. It's all about your relationship with your list, and your launch will give you the warmest, best list relationship you'll ever have. I've seen the empirical data prove this over and over again. My open rates and my click rates are always 6 to 9 times higher after I go through a launch, and my clients see the same thing. Now, I'll get back to your list in a minute, but first I need to talk about the other elephant in the room, which is product. Ultimately, if you're going to have a real control over your business and your life, you're eventually going to need your own product. When you've got a list in your own product, then nothing, and I mean nothing, gives you more control in your business and your life. And if you're going to create your own product, doesn't it make sense to create one that the market really wants to buy? Wouldn't it be a lot easier to create your product if you knew with absolute certainty that people wanted to buy it? I mean, lots of times people procrastinate on stuff like creating a product, me included. You worry about making the product perfect. I know I do. But if someone is basically pounding on your door with cash in hand, begging you to take their money, would that make it any easier to create that product? I bet it would. Well, that's what the seed launch will do for you. It's about getting paid before you create your product. It's about letting your new clients help you co-create the product by telling you exactly what should go in the product. The seed launch is the single best product getting strategy in the world. Just think about starting with no list and no product and getting paid to create your product. Now, the seed launch is something you'll come back to over and over, even after your business is established. But it's just the first of the 3 big guns in the PLF arsenal. The next step, where you really have a big jump in leverage, is the internal launch. If you already have an existing business, this is probably where you're going to start out. And I'm going to come right out and say this. My goal for you in your internal launch is to have the biggest sales week in the history of your business. In fact, my real goal is for you to make a year's worth of sales in 1 week. Now, that's a really big goal. Let's call it a stretch goal. It's certainly not an income claim or anything like that, but it's something I've personally achieved many times, and it's something that many of my PLF owners have achieved. Just like the seed launch, you'll come back to the internal launch over and over. Then, when it's time to really step up your results, you'll move into the JV launch. JV stands for joint venture. And in the JV launch, you're leveraging the list of other people. So maybe by this time, you've built up a really nice subscriber list, and that's awesome. But there might be 5 or 10 other people in your market that also have good email lists. In a JV launch, they will act as your joint venture partner or affiliate, and they'll mail all their lists about your launch. And all of a sudden, you might have tens of thousands of people getting emails about your launch. Now, nothing is typical, of course, but in my JV launches, I often add 30,000 or 40,000 or even 50,000 people to my list in a matter of days. And that's obviously really cool, and the results can be almost shocking. Again, nothing's typical, and there's a lot of work to be done in a JV launch, but this is how I've gone from doing a seed launch where I sold just 6 copies of my product, and then within 6 months, I built up to a JV launch that did $600,000 in sales in a single week. Now, I don't get to keep all that money because you pay commissions to your JV partners, but still, you have to agree, that's a pretty amazing result. The thing is, it's all a formula. And with this formula, you can start where you are and go forward from there. And there's a bit of a secret that you probably don't know. It's something I've experienced and that hundreds of my PLF owners have experienced. But let me tell you, until you actually have this experience, it's really difficult to understand the true power. It's called the launch echo. This is what I mean. If you stop and think about it, I bet you can imagine having a big launch. You can imagine all that money flooding into your bank account. When I first started out, my ultimate dream was to do $10,000 in a launch. That seemed like a crazy amount of money, but I dreamed about it. And the funny thing is, it didn't take me all that long to hit that goal. I didn't get it on my first launch, but I got there pretty quick. Then, once I got there, my dream was $30,000. And after I hit that, it was $100,000. And then, after I hit $100,000, then it was $1 million in a launch. Now, everyone is different and has a different number. So just take a second and think of your number. What's a really big result for you? A number that's really large, but still feels within reach. It could be $2,000 or $10,000 or $30,000 or $100,000 or more. Think about that number. Think about your number. Do you have it? Picture it in your mind. So here's the thing. When you put in the work and you hit your goal, it's an amazing accomplishment. You're excited, you're jumping to the ceiling. You'll never forget that first launch. But then comes something you didn't expect. It's the launch echo. Because all of a sudden, all these extra amazing benefits start coming into your business and your life. You notice that people are treating you differently. They're treating you with more respect. Even the gurus in your market are returning your calls. They're answering your emails. People are treating you like an authority, like an expert. Yes, like a guru. People are sending you free stuff. They're sending you gifts. They're asking to promote your next launch. They want to interview you. They want you to speak at their event. They want to partner with you. They want to help you produce a product. They want to join your team. They even want to buy another product from you. And that's the launch echo. I'm sure you can understand it. Your launch just gave you leadership positioning in your market. That positioning takes most people years or even decades to achieve. And the thing is, this launch echo works in every market, in every niche. Markets from dog agility training to tennis instruction, to raw food, to health food, to books, to massage therapy, to mixed martial arts, to wellness, to holistic healing, to life coaching, to real estate, to business coaching, to artwork, to marching band accessories, meditation, brain trauma, horse ballet, and I could go on and on and on. And it's worked all over the world, from Asia to Africa to South and Central America, all over Europe, Mexico, Canada, Australia, the UK. In fact, the last time I opened enrollment for Product Launch Formula, we had people join from 43 different countries. So you might be wondering, how does this actually work? How do you put the awesome power of Product Launch Formula to work in your business and in your life? So this is a deal. I've been teaching PLF since 2005, and I've been continually refining it. In fact, I've now remade the course from scratch 5 times. Each version has been a massive upgrade because the market's always changing, and because my PLF owners and I are always creating new tactics and new strategies. And frankly, I keep on getting better at teaching and transferring these skills, the knowledge, and the results to my students. But before I tell you about Product Launch Formula, I have to warn you, because this program is, well, it's going to be interactive, and since it's an online coaching program, registration is only going to be open for a short time. Then we'll close down registration and start the class. In fact, registration's never been open for more than a few days. One time we had all filled up in 34 hours, and I actually had to close down registration early without any warning. So first off, you get the 6 modules of the Product Launch Formula coaching program. I've broken up this training into individual video training modules where I'll walk you through all the steps to create and sequence your launch. It's set up so that we go through 1 module per week. However, if you have scheduling issues and you fall behind, you can always work at your own pace and catch up later. And after the program's over, you'll still have access. So you'll be able to go back over the material at your own leisure. You'll find that the ability to review the material as often as you like at your own convenience, well, it's simply priceless. You'll also get detailed launch templates, so you can literally fill in the blanks on the way to your launch. In those 6 modules, we'll cover all the strategies and tactics that you'll use to create massive anticipation and excitement in your market, so that people are ready to buy even before you open your shopping cart. You'll learn the exact sequencing and all the nuances behind the seed launch, the internal launch, and the JV launch. Those are the big 3. You'll work your way through my templates to create great pre-launch content. You'll build a crushing offer that your prospects will just be drooling over. And this is where it all comes together. You've got your pre-launch mojo working, but how do you bring it down the home stretch for maximum impact? How do you tailor your offer as you come down to launch day? How do you pressure stack properly as you go into your launch? For that matter, what happens when you open the shopping cart and the day after? How do you use your early results to plan and drive the rest of your launch? What should you be sending to your prospects once you go live? How about your JV partners? And what about your new customers? What are the 3 key things you do during your actual launch day to maximize your results? And what the heck is the Walker W, and what does it mean about the end of your launch? How do you structure and manage bonuses during your launch to keep the buying frenzy going? I'll show you how to do all of that in Product Launch Formula. And here's a pesky little detail. How do you make sure you actually get paid? How do you make sure you don't run into trouble with your payment processes when you get a huge surge of sales? And how about the quick launch? For those times when you don't want to put together a full launch, but you need to bring in a quick surge of sales in a few days. And how about book launches? How does all this apply to book launches? Well, I've got an entire section in Product Launch Formula that's all about book launches, both fiction and nonfiction. Sometimes authors, well, they think their job's done when they finish a manuscript, but nothing could be further from the truth. If you're not marketing your book, then it's not selling. And there's no better way to market your book than with a launch. And then there's the evergreen launch. This is where you create a system so that any new prospects coming into your business get their very own launch shortly after they join your list. That means you get the awesome power of PLF all year round. Okay, so that was a brief description of some of the stuff we'll cover in the 6 modules. And I easily could have talked for 30 minutes about each of the modules. But then I would have ended up with this crazy long video for you. Frankly, you don't have time for something like that because I know your time is tight, and so is mine. After all, I've got a coaching program to get underway. So the bottom line is that we're going to cover a lot of ground over those 6 weeks. You're going to come out the other end with a complete product launch. In other words, you'll have your entire sequence from the start of pre-launch all the way to your post-launch follow-up, including the emails you're going to send, the blog posts, the pre-launch content you'll release, the timing, everything. But that's not enough. I want to take you beyond just a plan and right into action. So I'm going to give you my massive collection of sample copy. You're free to use this in your launch. I'm talking about dozens of pieces of email copy, blog copy, video scripts, sales letters from real live launches, both from me and from my students. This is launch tested copy. Most of it's copy I created from scratch for my clients. I made each of those clients sign an agreement that I retained rights to the copy. And this is a complete gold mine. These pieces come from launches I did, which brought in a total of $7,760,000. That's over $7 million in sample copy results. And when I add up what my clients paid me for that copy, Well, it came out to roughly $415,000. Now, those are all pretty crazy numbers, but the bottom line is that you're going to get an amazing amount of copy that you can drop right into your launch. This is plug and play material, and all of a sudden, those blank spots in your product launch plan, they start to get filled in. Next, because I love to teach from examples, we'll have case studies from PLF owners, and you'll even be eligible for your own case study. And with those case studies, well, it's a given that I'm going to walk you through my exact sequences from launches I've done, but I'm also going to be walking through some student launches in great detail and critique the entire sequence. I've found that your best learning will often come from these real-world case studies. But we're not done yet. Then there's the PLF portal and the PLF community. This is something we added a few years ago, and it was a huge win. In fact, we immediately saw our PLF owners getting better results because they had the full support of an incredibly strong community of their fellow PLF owners. The community is where you get your questions answered, you get accountability, celebrate your victories, and get an encouraging word when you need it. You are never alone. You are never alone. Our incredibly strong PLF community is a big source of pride and joy for me, and it will be an amazing resource for you. And then comes the part that takes PLF to an entirely different level, and that's our live coaching calls. These are deep dive calls where my coaches and I get on the phone with you and all the other PLF owners, and we'll take the material even deeper and answer your questions. You get your questions answered, and you also get to hear the questions from other PLF owners. And frankly, this is where we're at our best, live and unscripted, answering everything from newbie to ultra advanced questions. These calls are awesome. We have a lot of fun and we get an amazing amount done on them. Plus, you'll get the recordings of those deep dive coaching calls. This way you can go back through all the questions your fellow students had so you don't miss a thing. Frankly, we cover so much ground in these calls that you're going to want to listen to them over and over again. Finally, you'll have access to me and my platinum level coaches answering your questions in a private forum for a full 6 months. This will be a private area in the PLF portal where you can go in and ask questions. My coaches and my team, we're going to be in there every week and we'll be answering your questions. This is where we take your PLF experience to the highest level and get your specific questions answered. So by now you're probably thinking that I've put together a pretty amazing offer, but as you'll learn, I'm a big fan of creating what I call a crushing offer, which is an offer that it's so over the top that it's impossible to refuse. So I thought long and hard about how I can make this offer even better. And I came up with not one, not two, but 3 amazing bonuses. Each one of these bonuses could easily be worth more than the cost of the entire PLF course. The first bonus is all about your list, about building your list and building a relationship to your list. You'll get my entire Launching Your List 2.0 course. This course shows you how to build a list from scratch, and it teaches you how to profit from that list. Once you build it, the value of your list is, well, it's literally impossible to calculate. It keeps on making money for you week after week. Having a list is, well, it's almost like having a license to print money. And that's what you'll have with my Launching Your List 2.0 course. Now, I've never sold this course to the general public before, but when I do, it will likely be $997. And you'll get this entire course for free when you first log into the PLF portal. Okay, next up, the second over-the-top bonus for you is my product creation formula course. If you don't have a product yet, this course will teach you how to get one fast. Creating information products is, well, it's inexpensive. In fact, it's nearly free. You almost surely already have the tools you need right on your computer, and it's fast and even fun. Most important, it puts you in charge of your destiny. When you have your own product or products, then you've got control and you'll be launch ready. This course will take all the mystery out of creating products, all the way from inexpensive ebooks up to high-priced online courses, membership sites, and even live seminars and workshops. Now, I've never sold this course before, but when I do, it will be at $997. And that brings us to the final big surprise, the last piece of the puzzle that makes this a complete no-brainer, and this is it. At the end of the Product Launch Formula program, we'll have PLF Live. This is a full-blown live in-person workshop. This is an incredibly high-value, high-energy live event led personally by me. It's just me on stage coaching you and hundreds of other PLF owners through this process for 3 days. Now, I might call in some favors and ask a couple of my famous marketing buddies to speak, but it's going to be me up on stage 80% of the time. This is going to be a fantastic workshop. And it's also a place where you can meet potential JV partners and mastermind partners. If you think that the community in the PLF portal is awesome, and it is, well, the community at PLF Live takes it to an entirely different level. Now in the past, my events have cost $5,000, $10,000, and I even had one that was $25,000. So that gives you some idea about what my events are like. With PLF Live, there's two things that are guaranteed. It's going to be a high-end event with great people, and I'm going to walk you step by step through creating your launch. The thing is, PLF Live won't cost you $5,000. When you register for Product Launch Formula today, I will give you a free ticket to PLF Live. Of course, I've got a hard limit on the number of people who can attend the event. Obviously, the conference room can only hold so many people. Priority is going to be given to the people that register for Product Launch Formula first. If you don't get registered in time, or if you can't attend the event for some other reason, then you can attend next year's event. So if you add up the value of just those three bonuses, well, you're already at $6,994. So by now, you're probably wondering how much Product Launch Formula costs. Well, the reality is that PLF won't cost you anything. What Product Launch Formula does is it puts money in your pocket. It's about making you money. It's an investment in yourself and your business. In fact, here's why it's physically impossible for you to lose. First, you just need to be willing to invest $1,997 to reserve your spot, or just $397 if you take the easy payment option. This covers my time and my team's time in putting all this together for you, plus it makes sure that only serious people apply. Now, all investments have risks, except this one. There are two ways this investment can go for you. Here's the first scenario. You put my product launch strategies and tactics to work and you crush it with your launch. And in that case, you're probably going to need a calculator to figure out what your return on investment is. The second scenario goes like this. You just don't do anything with the material, or you get distracted, or it's just not your thing. That's okay. It happens. In this case, just take advantage of my 30-day free look policy and just send me an email and I'll get you a refund right away. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. So either you get a crazy return on your investment or you get your money back. Now, I don't know about you, but I sure would like to find some more investments with those kinds of options. Basically, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. You have a full 30 days to see if Product Launch Formula is right for you. If you decide that it isn't, just let us know and we'll gladly refund your money. No hassles, no hard feelings. So go ahead and click the button below the video and join me in the Product Launch Formula coaching program. Now, one last thing I need to mention. This is a limited time offer. You see, I only open up Product Launch Formula to the general public once a year. We open up registration for a few days, usually between 2 and 5 days, and then we close down registration and we start the class. If you want to get in, you need to act quickly because the registration window is never open for long. However, if you miss out, well, don't freak out or anything like that because the odds are pretty good they'll offer another chance at Product Launch Formula in another 12 to 14 months. It's not about to stop working and I'm not about to stop teaching it. If you're not ready to step up today, then maybe a year from now will be the right time for you. But the question I always ask myself is this: if not now, when? If not me, then who? If you want a different result in your life or business, then you have to take a different type of action. One last thing, some people, they think I have some magical product launch powers, but this whole thing, it's not about me, it's about the formula. I'm not some marketing magician. I just stumbled onto a discovery more than 10 years ago, and that discovery has become the Product Launch Formula. Since then, I've been continually working on it, refining it, adding to it, perfecting it. The result's a method, a system, a formula that my students have used over and over again with amazing success. Because that's what's important. I've successfully taught others how to apply this formula over and over, in all kinds of crazy markets and niches with all kinds of crazy products. Remember, this is all about baby steps. It's about taking that first action and building on that action and gradually improving and gradually creating the business and the life that you deserve. If you're ready to have that kind of success, then your next step is to click the order button below and get registered for the Product Launch Formula coaching program. You know, I started this video with the story of two young men. One stepped up and invested in his training and in his future. I faced a similar decision in my life, whether I was ready to step up and invest in my future. I'm so incredibly fortunate that I said yes. And that decision took me from being a broke, stay-at-home dad to running a multi-million-dollar business and helping thousands of people. And I told you about John Gallagher. At one point, John was faced with a decision to invest in his future or not. His family was on food stamps and he was trying to support his wife and two young children. He sat there looking at that buy now button on his computer screen. Should he invest in PLF or not? He was at a crossroads. His life's path could go one of two different ways. Thankfully, he made the decision to step up that day to invest in himself. That one decision has reverberated through every area of his life. Where he lives, how he spends his time, what house he lives in, the car he drives, where his kids go to school, the food his family eats every day, and the impact he can make in the world. That difference in his life, well, it's absolutely breathtaking. Every one of those areas of his life is dramatically better today than it was a few short years ago when he made the decision to invest in himself and the product launch formula. If you tried to buy back PLF from John, he wouldn't sell it to you for 100 times what he paid. There's no way. So you have a big decision to make. I can't make it for you. The only thing I can do is tell you about the product launch formula and tell you that it absolutely works. It's worked for me, and it's worked for hundreds of my PLF owners. Of course, you have to learn the formula and you have to work the formula, but the formula works. Lots of people have made that same decision before you. Will Hamilton, he was a tennis coach, trying to figure out how to sell tennis instruction materials from his parents' basement. It wasn't working for him until he invested in PLF. Now he's got a hugely successful business, and he's worked with some of the highest level pro tennis players in the world. Or Susan Garrett. She was a successful dog trainer, but she could only work with a few dozen people per year, and she had to travel constantly to do so. Now she has a line of products, an incredibly successful business, and she helps tens of thousands of dog owners every year, all while traveling just a small fraction of the time that she used to. Now, none of these stories are typical. After all, no one is typical. But what is typical is that after you do your first successful launch, well, you immediately start planning your next launch. Your life is never the same again. But if you decide to pass up on this investment, I can guarantee you this: your life won't be any better tomorrow than it is today. Now is your time. It's time to step up and join thousands of other PLF owners. There's never been a better time, but you have to act now. Registration is closing soon. Now is the time to act. Enroll in Product Launch Formula and bring the awesome power of a properly executed launch into your life and into your business. Click the button below and join me now. This is your time. I'd love to serve you in building your business and creating a bigger, better life. Click the button now, and I'll see you on the other side.